What's up guys, it's Lee here from Bleeped Up Productions, and today I'm bringing you something very special. That is the Smogcon 2015 video overview. Now, at Smogcon 2015 I was running a little scenario called Colossal Mania. You can check us out on the Facebook if you want to run that scenario at your local club. The feedback from Smogcon has been fantastic, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Smogcon 2015 was the first privateer press event to be held outside of the United States, and the convention took place at the Radisson Blu near Heathrow Airport. Over the 3-day convention we had over 400 players from all over the world either competing in competitive tournaments in War Machine and Hordes or playing casual games in the Iron Arena to earn schools, which will allow the players to unlock prizes to be won. We also had the Smogcon keynote, which was teased at the end of TempleCon's keynote.
Well, what is it? I'm in the middle of an interview.
I've got that thing you were asking about. And that's right, we have new gargantuans in the work. It was such an amazing experience to be there live when Ed Bourelle and Will Shick and all the guys from Privateer Press unveiled it to the world, and we got the first sneak peek before they put it out on YouTube. And boy, some of the models look fantastic, but I don't know about you guys, but the Hydra, yes, the Hydra stole the show for me. But anyway, also, we had Privateer Press staff there, as I've said. Ed Bourelle was there, Will Shick, Doug Seacat and Ron Cruzy for the first time. Some of those guys actually had never been to the UK before, so it was really exciting to hear about their first experiences in England. We also had a P3 painting competition judged by John and Ron, and by God, some of the minis were fantastic. And the first thing that's up on the slate is a nice little slideshow I put together of all the minis that were entered, and by God, guys, some of the minis are just fantastic. But hey, don't take my word for it, just watch this slideshow. Okay guys, with the P3 painting competition out of the way, we're up to the meat of the episode, and that was my interview with Will Shick and Ed Bourelle. I had to get these questions cleared with Privateer Press and everything was set to go, so sit back and enjoy. Guys, I want to thank you so much really for taking the time out to answering a few questions, and the first one really is, how's Smogcon been for you guys? Because obviously this is the first, Privateer Press event outside of the US. How's it been for you as an individual? So either one, team or...
I mean, it's been a blast. I would say we're probably having just as much fun as every other attendee coming here to play games. We play games all day. We run our seminars. We hang out in the evenings. Maybe drink a little bit too much, but we have a good time, right? And then got up this morning, grabbed my army out in the Iron Arena, playing some more games, and just thoroughly enjoying it. Feels like home, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been fantastic being here, and like Ed said, we came over and it doesn't even feel like we're in a different country right now. Like it just feels like we're at any War Machine and Hordes convention. Like the energy levels are like way up there. Everybody's just excited to play. Games are happening everywhere. So it's been fantastic. Like it's been a blast.
Okay, so the second question, which I put for both of you as well, is like, how did you feel the keynote went? Because obviously you heard the reaction and everything. I just want to hear. Were you expecting kind of?
It was
a bit nervous, or was it? Are you really?
I have pretty high expectations, so I was pretty disappointed in the reaction. No, I mean you guys blew us away, right? Like there was people standing on tables,
Right.
Just to see the screen and cheer. It was great, and then really the thing that's impressed me the most has just been the follow up afterwards. Like everybody coming by, talking about it, asking us questions, and being super enthusiastic about the presentation, and just very. Very excited that we were able to bring something to the table here for Smogcon, for our first Smogcon, and I've loved it.
Now you've kind of hit you've come with this now, and now it's like, how can you surpass that for next year? That's the thing, isn't it?
That's always the question, right?
We've
had that problem since like the first time we did the keynote at TempleCon, and we released Colossals, and everyone like first look at Colossals are coming, mind blown. So it's always the challenge, right? But I think it's one of the things that really like energizes us at the office. It's like how do we go to the next level? How do we continue to grow and like improve on what we're doing, and keep people excited and keep the energy up and make the game as good as it can be and as exciting as it can be.
Yeah.
And we've discovered we can just show very small flashes of things and people
That's
will lose
true.
their minds.
It is
So
exactly
really,
that.
I think next is just going to be like a flashing strobe of imagery that's just like a hand, foot. Right, like we're gonna see what we can get away
Random
with.
That's what I
pictures.
was saying to you, Will. It's like you guys do so much stuff, like just little snapshots, and everyone just goes with it. They just go like the conspiracies start flying. What is this? What is this? I can't tell you. No, seriously, no, you can't. You just tease us so much. It's good though, and there is. Oh man, I was just blown away. Like it's fun to see like all the concept art, obviously, and then just like. I think what stole the show obviously was the Hydra. Just seeing that thing, we were just like, what the heck? And it's really interesting because it's well, I'm guessing from a design aspect you've got the ideas and it's strong, but as soon as the models are produced, I think everyone starts licking their lips a little bit, I guess, at PP.
Yeah, it totally changes your view when you're like, here's rules on a page, and then you see that thing like go through concept art, go through art, and then finally like it's there and you can have it. And you're like, I want it.
Well, and we didn't talk about it so much in the video, but if you ever watched the very first Colossal video where Will's talking about how we took the first final Colossal, the Conquest, and we just ran around the building.
Yeah.
Right. We still did that. We did that with the Hydra even. We didn't talk about it in the video, but that that totally happens. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, let me see it. And then like people will be talking about it, and to somebody who hasn't seen it yet, they'll be like, what? That's done? Where is it? And then people will be like, I heard the Hydra's done. Where's the Hydra? I'm like, it's in the photo studio. Leave him alone, right?
He's got to do pictures.
Yeah, he's got to get it photographed, or we're shooting video today, for the video. But while we're shooting those videos, you'll have like people wandering by, and like because the door will be open, and they'll be like, oh, and they just kind of walk in, and we'll look up, and they'll just looking, be like, it's fine, right? You're allowed to see all the cool stuff you worked on, but it's great.
I guess. Well, so one thing I'm excited about. So obviously there's loads of new announcements, but one question I wanted to ask to both of you was like, what of the new announcements is exciting you as a gamer, but also as being a part of the staff at Privateer Press, which you're looking forward to, whether it be creative director or director of business. Obviously, it's like, what excites you as a gamer, as playing the game, but also what's like, this is going to fly off the shelves kind of in a way.
Man, I mean, obviously the Colossals and Gargantuans are super exciting. It's stuff everybody knows about. I like to get excited about some of the sort of smaller things. So, for me as a Crix player, if I make it personal, there's some really great Crix stuff coming up. The new Warcaster, I'm completely in love with.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. All the other Crix players will be too, and all the other Crix players, non-Crix players.
They'll be fine.
They'll live.
They're getting things too.
They won't live, but no. There's just so much cool stuff coming up. But yeah, I'm excited about some of the new Crix releases, and honestly, some of the new of the other new Scorn stuff that we've got coming out.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Same with you.
I mean, overall, there's a lot of stuff. Obviously, one of my real like glee moments was the Chromac reveal at the end of the video. Like, I am so excited to have been part of that conversation, kind of figuring out how that's going to happen and making it into a model and stuff like that. That for me, just getting to see the story progress on the tabletop and how that impacts everyone who plays the game, right, in a really meaningful way is super cool. The other thing that I'm really excited about, excites me as a gamer, is, both Ed and I and a lot of people at Private Press are huge into board and card games, right? So the expansion that we've done over the last few years with the lines like the Bodger games, the Level 7 games, the IKRPG now, doing the Iron Kingdom's Undercity game and seeing the reaction to that and how much buzz and how many questions we've gotten about that at conventions and stuff, and people coming up to me and just being really excited, asking questions. That is so exciting for me in both those respects, because it means that not only are we making something that people are really jazzed about and that I myself am really looking forward to, but it's a potential for us to like put the Iron Kingdoms in the setting we all love and the games that we super enjoy in front of people who might not initially look at a miniatures game as something they want to do, right? But they think the figures kind of look cool. They've got a friend who plays it, and he brings the board game, and it's like, here's this really accessible thing, and it's got all the fun bits that kind of like leads you into the more like serious bits of either the War Machine Hordes miniatures games or the Iron Kingdoms RPG itself, or just exploring the setting more. And so I think that, coupled with the excitement of the community that's already around for the game and the potential that it has to really just like put War Machine and Hordes and the Iron Kingdoms in front of everybody in the world is so cool.
Well, that's like the perfect segue, because I would love to talk about this, because obviously PP is really well known for War Machine and Hordes, but over the years you've expanded to just side miniature gaming. You've got High Command, you've got the Iron Kingdoms RPG. But how did this game come about? How did Undercity come about? Was it just literally because what I've recently been playing, we've been playing a lot of fantasy fight games like Imperial Assault, and we've seen the Conan game that's just kickstarted and stuff like that. You've got these kind of games like this, and just seeing Undercity is kind of like everyone's leaning towards this really cool thing. But what made you guys want to do this? This is the thing, and what should people be excited about this more than anything?
Well, I mean, I think in the end, right, it was really this desire to express. We've always wanted to express the Iron Kingdom's setting in as many different venues as possible, and to make it truly accessible. So we've got Skullland Expeditions, which does fiction now. So if you just want to read about the world and read about the characters, you can do that, and you don't have to play the miniatures games, to make that work. We've got the company started with the RPG. That's the reason that War Machine and Hordes exists. So getting to go back to the RPG now that we had fleshed out the world so much more in War Machine and Hordes and really dive in and create our own system as opposed to like riffing off of the D&D 3.5 at the time or a different system was really exciting for us, because we kind of got to tie the worlds together. And so it's all about like kind of creating this multiple expressions, but that all tie back to the whole. And so when we were talking about what's next, we talked about High Command, and you mentioned that, and that one brings you into the world in a different way and really kind of focuses on the War Machine and Horde setting, right? It's all about big battles. It's all about commanding grand armies across Western Imran and the strategic trials that is. And it's a card game, so it's very accessible in that way, and it's got deck building construction. With the board game, we really we always wanted to have an expression that was kind of like the RPG light, right? That gave you an inroads to the setting where you played with a team of heroes and you went on adventures and you got to murder a bunch of monsters and maybe you got to level up and stuff. And so starting with that kind of concept and that idea, we kind of had to sit down and we were like, okay, well, what does that mean in the Iron Kingdoms, right? You have a lot of those games, and just like we did with Omega Protocol, where we really wanted to make our own expression of a pretty classic trope, right? The dungeon crawl. But we wanted to make that very different. And I think, with Level 7 Omega Protocol, I feel like we accomplished that, right? That game is very unlike a lot of the other dungeon crawls, and we've seen a lot of that response from the community. So that was the challenge for the Iron Kingdoms, but we had Omega Protocol now, and we were like, well, we don't want to just do Iron Kingdoms Omega Protocol. We want to make this its own thing and to have it hit its own notes. And so it was a lot of front-loaded consideration and talk about what we wanted, but at its very core, we always knew that we wanted this expression of the game. We wanted a thing that would let you jump into the normal life, if you will, of the Iron Kingdoms, and to kind of see it from the ground level rather than the grand sweeping like army side that War Machine and Hordes and High Command kind of do.
Sweet, that's awesome. Right, we've got a few more to go. Okay, so one thing I want to ask you guys, obviously, play War Machine and Hordes a lot, obviously. Other than that game in the office, what do you guys keep coming back to that PP release? Is it you guys, when you don't play it, is it Man, is it 7, is it Kingdoms? What's the kind of game?
For me, one of my favorites is got to be Omega Protocol. It's just Level 7 Omega Protocol is such a slick game. It's the play is streamlined. I really like the structure for the commandos, where they sort of have the leadership roles, and everybody gets to work together toward a strategy. It has that command structure that just kind of makes it feel like a military level game, but then it has the action adventure aspect of, you know, you're going through this underground facility and like monsters are popping out, and so that's one I think that I definitely come back to at home with some of my non-lifestyle gamer friends. Zombies Keep Out has been a big one. That one's really fun and surprisingly tense at times for such a light little game with colorful little guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my wife is really huge into high command, so it's great. Like, she knows about the miniatures games, obviously, because they're all over the house. and she's tried them before, right? But they're not really just her thing. But she's really big into board games and card games, and so when we started working on high command, one of the things that I cheekily did is I brought it home and I was like, hey, will you play this with me and just see how it is? And Ed did the same thing with his wife too.
I think our wives are listed as playtesters on the first set.
And so you know, we just sat down, we started playing, and it took her a couple games, but she's like, I want to keep playing again. I was like, okay, well, this is a good sign. And she just really enjoyed it. So that's one that we still play, you know, on weekends before the kids wake up. We'll just be like, all right, let's play it really quick, because it's easy to set up on the table and you're done in about like 40 minutes at most. So that's one I always go back to. I really love Invasion. For me, that genre of game, that was the game that I wanted to make when we started talking about level 7, like overall, like, because we kind of had this plan and we were going to do 3 very different expressions, and we always knew the last one was going to be kind of like a world domination, like Risk style game, and where we wound up with it and how it interacts and how it, you know, has this kind of like spreading disease that is the aliens, the Hydra, that are random, and you kind of have to work with each other, but you have to be a little cagey about what you're doing, because at the end of the day, if you don't survive, then it's not going to impact the other players if they get to the end game, but it's really hard to get to the end game without 5 people. That to me it's just so much fun, right? And it's one of those ones where you can sit around, you can drink a beer with your buddies, and like you can hoot and holler, and like it's just about like desperate last stands and crazy things happen.
That's one where if studio director Ron Cruz finds out that somebody's gonna play some Invasion, he's like, you got a space for me? You got a space for me? He loves that game.
That's awesome. Right, so we've got one last question for you. So Ed, the one thing I wanted to ask you was, being the creative director, I bet there's a lot of meetings and ideas, obviously, coming up with things, but I wanted to ask, like, what was an evolve of a certain model or something that started off something completely different to what it actually became to a final product? Because I guess that so many people probably asked you a load of things and just said, how can we make this work? But then obviously meeting after meeting.
I can think of a few. I'm interested in which one you're going to pick.
I'm interested in what you're thinking, because because I'm not coming up with any.
No?
No. And so it might just be because it's been quite a long weekend that my mind is drawing a blank. But as far as like starting in one place and coming out completely different, or even vastly different, what do you got?
Oh, the Wraith engine is one that jumps to mind, actually. The initial concept that was sketched up in the meeting when we were kind of throwing ideas around was largely different.
If we're talking about... Okay. If we're talking strictly visual...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now
there you go. Okay, well, the Wraith engine is one that came out vastly different. I can think of a few others. The Iron Lich Overlord. We just decided to really experiment there, you know, because it was just the multiple faces and everything. None of that was really in the art description until we started playing around with it, and that was one where we liked the idea enough that we had to change the rules to give it 360 vision.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, but that one just came out so unique. See, there's got to be some non-Crix ones. I'll be honest. The Blightbringer, the new Legion Gargantuan. It's not that it went through a lot of changes. It's that from the visions on the paper, like what was written, right, and then where we ended up. And I guess we did go through some versions where it was like more like a 6-legged sort of stunted lizard thing. It was more like a ball that was all mouth, and so because the art description on that thing was just bizarre, because it was basically like mouth, right? That was it.
Big toothy maw.
Big toothy maw. It has to have some, way to move, and it spews ash, right? And then it has a tail.
Yeah.
Right. Had to have a tail. Tail attack. that was it. So we got some strange variations. Nick K did a few wacky things, and we worked with Matt Wilson really closely and came up with sort of the new odd shape, which you do see in the concept art. I was like, have we only showed the illustration? We showed the concept art, so you've seen how it turned out. There's actually a number of them, and I mean that's kind of the fun part of the process. The other thing is that we do is we'll have an awesome concept, and we'll be like, well, that's not right for here, but let's keep that one in mind, because we can turn that into some other crazy
So is there
stuff.
just like a file of stuff that should be but might be coming out just because I guess there's so many ideas that are spewed everywhere.
Yep.
It's just kind of like maybe later on. That's exciting. So Will, we've got one question for you. So working at Privateer Press, I bet you play a lot of War Machine and Hordes, but what's the other games? We've already discussed that actually. So I think that's it actually. So no, actually, what's a normal day then for you at Privateer Press? Because obviously you get a lot of stuff.
Normal day.
There are no normal days.
No normal days. I mean, so typically what happens is you get into the office, and like for me, the first thing to do is like 30 minutes check your email, because our email boxes fill up with like sculpt approvals, with concept approvals, because I'm on all that stuff to check for development. You've got like emails from marketing, emails from game development, like all this stuff, and then you've got a bunch of stuff to plan. You sit down, and then like it just goes, right? And it's one of the things that's great about Privateer that I find really enjoyable, and I know Ed's talked about this in other places as well, is that it's so fluid, right? Like you're never doing the same thing on each day. Like you might have a plan going in, and you're like, okay, I know I have to hit these items, but like the other challenges that come up were like just the spontaneous meetings. Like I think it's such a creative and dynamic environment because of that. Yeah. So like I'll come in with a plan of what I'm going to do, and then all of a sudden we'll get sidetracked and we'll come up with this other great idea because we have to figure it out now, or it like came up, or like getting to work on the videos and like concepting how are we gonna display this, right? One of the things that we did that we weren't quite ready for, it was in our minds at the time, was we had the Horde section of the video all ready to go for Smogcon. But our video producer is like, we need a beginning and we kind of need an ending, right? Like, what are we going to do for the beginning? Like, how are we going to connect the two together? And so he and I sat down for like 20 minutes before Ed got in, and we threw some ideas around that Ed came in. We're like, okay, we think we got it. What do you think of this, right? And it's just stuff like that, right? Yeah. Like getting to work with all these people who are like super creative and just can come up with these great ideas. Yeah. And so it's fun. It's really fun. And then obviously like a big constant is always playtest, right? We're always playtesting stuff. We're always talking about new games, working on the different products and things like that. And so that you always know you're going to do, right? And that's the constant that you want, right? You're like, I'm going to get to go and I'm going to get to play War Machine for 2 to 3 hours and just like do new development stuff and get to affect change on the games that we all love. And hopefully people like will get really excited about it when they see it. And when they do, it's so rewarding, in the end.
That's really cool. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. And yeah, I'm excited for all the new stuff that's coming. And what really excites me more about Privateer Press, other than War Machine and Hordes, is like you're taking something which is like original design as a miniature table, and you're expanding into different genres and different markets just to throw it out there to game people. Yeah. So like you were saying, Will, you've got people who just love the books and want to do that, and you've got other games such as Level 7, like you were saying, and just the whole Commando style stuff like that. It's just you seem to be hitting stuff that people are kind of reeling people in, which is really cool. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Worries.
It's a blast.
No worries, thank you.
Okay guys, it is now time for a little spotlight on Colossal Mania. If you guys didn't know, Colossal Mania was in the Iron Arena, and it was a scenario that I created just to get Colossals and Gargantuans to fight. But the basic principle was bring a Colossal, fight, duke it out, and as soon as it's downed, your Warlock or Warcaster would come straight in. But hey, you can go on our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/the-bleep-up-podcast. You can go get the scenario for free and try it out at your local club. The feedback I got from the event was fantastic. Loads of guys are actually going to be running several tournaments of Colossal Mania at their local clubs, which is fantastic. And even some guys have emailed me to say, hey, I'm making a board, is it cool if I can do that and all that? And it's fantastic to just say yes, go and just show it to the masses and see what you guys think. I want to thank everyone who stopped by the board and interviewed me, and all that stuff, and just it was great to have all your feedback, guys. So yes, check out Colossal Mania, it is fantastic. And that is it, guys. Smogcon 2015 in the books. Obviously I didn't get as much video as I wanted because I was running Colossal Mania throughout the whole of the weekend, but the video that I got shows what Smogcon is all about. You can come and play competitive games if you want. You can come and play casual games if you want. You can have demos in any kind of game, whether it be, you know, High Command, War Machine and Hordes, you name it. Anything that Privateer Press has, it was there. You know, they had level 7, they had Zombies Keep Out, you name it, it was there, trust me. And guys, I want to thank you all for watching this video, and yes, on the screen right now is the final thumbnail. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a like is much appreciated. Hey, even leave a comment if you were there, and you know, in the comment section, please tell us what you think and what your thoughts were of Smogcon. So obviously when people look at this video, they can look in the comments and people will just say they had a blast, because everyone I talk to, whether it be Ed Bourelle, Will Shick, or even, you know, John Webb, all the guys that I played against or even talked to at Smogcon said it went really well and they were just blown away by it. So guys, please leave a like and a comment, that's always awesome. If you want to check out any more of my content, you can click the channel thumb link right there. We do everything from board, video game, and miniature game related content here on the channel. So check out my channel on that link. If you've really enjoyed it and want to subscribe, you can hit the subscribe button right there. On the screen right now are several playlists that will take you to, whether it be game night or my War Machine battle reports and stuff like that, and other content that I do. And also you can feel free to check out our podcast that we do, which is Murder of Crows, on handcannononline.com. We are having so much fun doing that podcast, and it's really exciting to hear people come up to me and say that they're really enjoying the podcast, and to meet some of the listeners out at Smogcon was fantastic as well. So big ups to all of you for your constant support for this channel and for our podcast and for whatever we do here at Bleeped Up Productions. So guys, without further ado, take care, have a good one. That was Smogcon 2015, and hey, we'll see you for Smogcon 2016, and trust me, it is going to be a blast.